nobody wants to know how little I made that first year, because it was building a foundation of a new career, building a foundation of educating myself so I knew what to do and how to interact with people and how to close people. So the hardest was staying focused and realizing I'm investing my time. And I needed to continue to invest my time, because even though I don't win all the deals, I'll get better at it and I'll win more.
All right, guys, here we go now. It is time to unlock more doors to deals. We're real estate investors here. We're real estate agents here, and we all have one thing in common. We believe that we can. We can live the life of our purpose. We can create financial freedom. We can build a better life for those that we love, and we can live the life of our dreams. I don't care if you're trying to do your first deal or your 500th this year. You can get to the next level, and we're here to help. Welcome to Doors to Deals. I'm your host and founder, Jim Manning. Today's episode can be found on doorstodeals.com/2021. I don't know if you're anything like me, but when I first started out, I really struggled to consistently do deals. I remember being stressed out. Some months I'd have a great month and I'd make more money than I could ever imagine making in a month. And then other months, like 3 months later, I wouldn't have had a deal and I'd be back to square one and kind of broke again, and would kind of ping pong back and forth. And the inconsistency of making money really got to me. And by the time I looked at what I ended up making at the end of the year, I actually was making less than what I was making at my corporate America job that I was doing after college. So today I interview Michael Oliver. He's a deal partner with us, and he's been mentored by us for over 2+ years as a property buyer. He's really worked intimately with us. We've laughed with him, we've cried with him, the whole gamut. He's this guy, Michael Oliver, affectionately known as Ollie, is literally one of my favorite individuals, not only in real estate, but really on planet Earth. So it's a pleasure to bring him to you today. And what we're going to go into is that Ollie went from being inconsistent and struggling to get by, and he went from the same stance, the same place where I was at, what I just explained to you, and then he took a leap. He took a leap in his second year to actually doing over 30 deals in his second year of doing this full time. So regardless if you haven't done a deal yet, or if you have several under your belt and are looking to get to the next level and looking to get more consistent income, there's a tremendous amount of amazing content in this episode. I want you to pay attention not only to his journey, but how he kept going despite adversity and obstacles that came up. Had he given up and quit before he developed his skills, all the good that he's doing now wouldn't have been possible, right? So Ollie's gone, guys, in 2 years from struggling to kind of figure it out and being on the verge of even getting out of the industry to becoming a very solid investor doing a lot of deals. And he's on the cusp now. If he takes another leap forward this year, just like what he did last year, he's on the cusp of being an elite level investor where you can kind of stack him up against other investors across the nation. So having people like Ollie in our group is what gets me up in the morning. It's what I love. And it's just so amazing to see a person face adversity, beat it down, keep fighting, and breaking through to reach that ultimate potential. Get excited, guys. Today's episode is amazing. Let's get after it. So, guys, I am beyond excited today to get rocking and rolling again. 2021 is going to be an awesome year. It's going to be our best year yet. We have a lot of exciting things coming. And I think this is important for everybody to kind of think about. Have you guys ever thought about the difference between like a seasoned white belt and like karate, like martial arts practicer, and a person that's a black belt? And when you've been doing karate for a while, you kind of have learned all the moves, you kind of know it. You'll have the knowledge, but what you lack is kind of the skills of a black belt. The difference with a black belt is they're able to execute and just they have mastery over the certain activities that you need to be really, really successful. And so what I'd like y'all to kind of think about right now, and as we get kind of going for 2021, is there's really only two things that matter in business and then really in life, I think. They're your habits and your relationships. And the habits, they go through how you think, how you view the world, how you get up in the morning, how you show up at work, what you do during the day. Everything ends up revolving around your habits. And then when it comes to relationships, we had the pleasure of doing a retreat a couple months, about a month ago now. And the person that was leading the retreat gave us a bag of nails, and there's 2 nails on a board that were hammered in. And he said, okay, you have to, or I'm sorry, there's 1 nail hammered into a board. And the leader said, hey, there's 10 nails in this bag. You have to figure out a way to balance all 10 of these nails without hitting the board, like without having all of them suspended in the air. And he told us, he said, use any resources that you have available to solve this problem. You have 5 minutes, go. And we had 2 different teams doing this exercise. And we looked at it, we worked at it, we tried to figure it out, and we failed miserably within 5 minutes. Completely failed. Okay. And then we looked at him and we said, well, how do you do it? And he said, okay, well, this is exactly how you do it. And he told us the way to do it, and we did it within 2 minutes based on his instruction. And what he said, I gave you the instruction. I said, you use any resources that you have available to do this. Why did not one of you ask me how to do this? And it's a perfect analogy. It's a perfect setup for why relationships are so important, because the right relationship, the right person that's already solved a problem that you're facing, that's already kind of been there and done that, or maybe they're a relationship that could give you 10, 15, 20 deals a year. You never know. The right relationships are the most powerful asset that you can have in business. Okay. So as the challenge I have to y'all is, as you get your mindset and you're setting up your mind for 2021, is how are you going to level up your habits? What are you going to do at a higher level, at a higher skill level than you ever have before? And then what are you going to do with the relationships? How are you going to develop deeper relationships with your friends, with your family, with people in this network? What are you going to do to develop those deeper relationships that then are going to unlock whatever the heck you want to in your life? Okay. All right. Soapbox over. So today we have, I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but it's really important. And the longer I do this, the more I realize how incredibly important your habits and your relationships are. Okay. So, Ollie, what's up, buddy? Thank you for being on today, man.
Thanks for asking me, man. How's it going? Obviously, it's going well for you. Excited as you always are.
Yeah, I'm excited. I tell you, the last month or so, I had so my 4th kid, Drew, was born, for those of you that don't know, and he was born 2 months early. So he was in the NICU. And so we were the pandemic was starting to spike again for the second time. And then, so we were dealing with then having a kid in kind of at the hospital. It was a lot. We kind of went through a lot, but we were able to get through that, feel really blessed. The holidays are through, and just, I'm ready to go. I feel like $1 million now, man. So
yeah, I was excited when you posted that Drew was home and you guys were all together. That's the most important thing. And it was by Christmas, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a week before Christmas.
Awesome.
It was a week before
Christmas. Very cool.
Absolutely. So, Ollie, let's get into your background in a second. But I really want to just do you have anything to add on, as I was on my kind of soapbox on the habits and the relationships? Because you've been doing this a little while now. You've been doing this a few years. I think Ollie, just so y'all know, he's about to take the leap from Ollie's at the cusp from going to like a high level, like solid investor to an elite level investor. And I really think 2021 is going to be the year for Ollie this year.
2021 was the year of the rehabs.
Yes, sir. So as you kind of get your framework around 2021 and kind of your mindset and your headspace, what are you looking into this? What are you doing to prepare?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So the good news is I was pretty solid through 2020, and I had a lot of good data that I was able to spend and review that time between Christmas and New Year's where things are a little bit slower. So I feel really good that I'm heading into 2021 with a really good plan based on roughly 2 years of doing this back and forth. And I know like where I get good deals. I know where areas are strong for me. So I feel really blessed by all that information. And like I kind of jokingly said, is in the 2 years working with three doors, I think I've done like four rehabs. And when I say I did them, really three doors did them, and I just got a check at the end of them, which was great. But now this year, I really want to improve on that. And so I'm taking on two rehabs starting this month. And I'd like to do six by the end of the year.
Careful what you ask for. That's a good thing and a bad thing.
My wife won't let me buy any more until I get these done. So I know I'm going to pause for at least a little while. She doesn't know about the third one. I didn't tell her.
No, I'm just teasing you. Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. So, so getting into it, like kind of the headspace and like kind of trying to get motivated and geared up. Are there any kind of habits you're really wanting to instill in yourself in 2021 or refine even that you've already been trying to develop?
I think the big one really came on, and people say it all the time. Oh, I gotta just have a system. I've got to follow my process, and then you kind of fall off with it. But I really did see that when I take my mornings and really focus on getting set for the day, getting out there with my follow-ups and my lead generation within the first 3 hours, it consistently produces good leads for me. I mean, but when I break it down, I'm like, oh, I scheduled a meeting at 9, so that one breaks off. Oh, I was watching TV, so that one broke off. It does affect the long term. Like I had a horrible October where not really anything was bad. I mean, not anything I didn't do, but I had it really bad. Well, that affected me in November and halfway through December on getting money. And so I consistently, like I wake up at a certain time, I immediately do, one step, and then I do the next step, which leads me to my computer by 8, and then my phone by 9, and then the road by 11.
Yeah, and so in getting into that routine is really what's unlocked a tremendous amount of results for you then.
And I'm better at like planning around it. Like I don't, as the guy says, let's meet at 9. I'm like, I can't meet at 9. Let's meet at 11. Where before I'd meet at 9, like you and I were just talking a couple of days ago about putting an appointment within my lead generation time. I've got to stop doing that because it breaks the rhythm of the lead generation.
And that's one of the interesting things too, guys, is like you can people are like normally really flexible when you set expectations with them. Like I can make 12:30 or 1:30 work. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's do 1:30, or whereas if you let them say, hey, well, let's do 9 o'clock, and you kind of, then it can throw your whole rhythm, your whole lead gen, your whole day out of whack.
And you start to think, oh, it's just that one, but that one turns into another and then turns into another. And like all of a sudden 3 days and a 5-day, 6-day period, you've broken your rhythm and it doesn't work. And like I have a rhythm for Saturday because Saturdays are good times to get a hold of people that aren't answering their phone during the week and getting them to commit because they're like, oh, okay, why don't you come over? So I do work the 6 days.
Okay. All right, so let's kind of like do a rewind here real quick. So tell us a little bit about like your background and kind of like where you came from before real estate, and we'll kind of get into your story a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an exciting story, but I kind of had 3 lives. My first life is I worked at agencies, advertising, moved around the country, worked on different clients from Coca-Cola to Walmart, really enjoyed it. Went down to Arkansas to work very closely with Walmart, decided that we were too close to St. Louis to not live in St. Louis because we were driving back and forth every weekend with the kids to see the grandparents and cousins' first confirmations or whatever it was. So we moved back, and then that's when I worked for an agency here in town that was really small, and I hope nobody's on the phone, but the creative wasn't the best, and so I kind of got burned out on selling stuff that I really didn't believe in. And at that time, when I was working there, I saw a need for designated drivers. And so I created a company that the drivers would drive around on little scooters, meet their clients at a bar, roll up their scooter, put it in the trunk, and then drive their clients home. So it was Scooter Guy was the business. We were in 5 cities. We were doing about 30 million And I got reached out by somebody in California who wanted to buy me out and developed a new brand called D-Chauffeur. So it was great. I sold Scooter Guy about 6 months before Uber exploded. You couldn't go to the bathroom without somebody talking about Uber. And fortunately, I already had a check for Scooter Guy, so it worked out great. And then after Scooter Guy, I worked with D-Chauffeur and I kind of consulted for a few years, about 5 years. And then my last two contracts were with companies like Three Doors and was Three Doors. And so I started piquing my interest in getting into the real estate deal because I was really tired of doing the consultant deal of telling owners what they needed to do and then them not doing it and then them being mad at me for no results. So when Three Doors reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to be a buyer?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, that's cool. I get to drive around in my car all day long and visit houses. This will be easy. I'll be rolling in the dough." As we all know, that's more than that.
So when you when you were doing consulting, it was on the marketing side of things, right?
I did both. I did operations and I did marketing. For Three Doors, it was mostly marketing, but for other companies, there was some operations just because they were growing fast and they didn't know who they needed and what they needed to do.
And when people were like, you're giving them advice and they weren't doing it, why was that? What was happening there? Like, what do you think?
No, it's individuals who have their own companies are very smart and very focused people. And I get that. And I think that's wonderful. And so when you tell them something and they go, "Well, that doesn't work for me." And you're like, "Well, why doesn't it work?" "Well, I did it 2 years ago." Well, you didn't really do it 2 years ago. You did it once and then you stopped. And it was just that the people who own their own company are very confident in their thinking. And so sometimes they don't see what the solution is because they didn't come up with it. Is that a PC way of saying they were jerks?
Yeah. We're all jerks. No.
Just the ones that didn't listen to me.
So what's interesting though about that, guys, is like, and the more the more I've been doing this, the more I realize just how a business is a business. Like some of the principles are the same, whether you're putting scooters in the back seat of drunk people's cars, or whether you're selling real estate on the agent side, you're investing, whatever, and a lot of times we have an idea that we try and put into place as business owners. And like we have the knowledge, oh, this should work. And then we don't take the time to master it. So I started off this talking about a white belt and a black belt, right? There's a huge mistake. It took me like 10 years to figure this out, that a lot of the time when I tried out these new ideas and they weren't working had nothing to do with the idea being a bad idea or the idea even being a wrong idea. It had to do with my skill set and my capability to pull it off and the time I invested in it. And sometimes it is bad timing and you shouldn't do it, right? No question about that. But don't just always jump to, like, especially like people that are starting out as like investors, like, "Oh, I put out 10 bandit signs and it didn't work. I don't know how to, this whole lead generation thing, this whole investing thing, it just doesn't work." Well, no, if you're going to do bandit signs, how do you do it at a mastery level? Like, how do you put it on steroids? How do you do it like better than anybody else is doing it? Like if you Google how to find motivated sellers, you have a great list there to start with on ways to do it. All of those ways actually work. I've pretty much every single way you can imagine to do a deal. When you Google it, Ryan and I and Three Doors have probably done it. Some we've just mastered, and others we've kind of said, okay, that's not worth it. We need to focus on other things because everybody has their own strengths, right? So that's interesting. I'm glad we brought that up. So, okay, let's get into Ollie. Let's get into your start in real estate and kind of like what happened when you started actually selling. Going after being an investor.
Yeah, it was my contract with Three Doors ended, and you guys asked me to be a buyer, which was perfect. So I'd spent like the previous 9 months, however it was, learning the industry, understanding the industry from a marketing perspective. And I did have ideas of like, hey, I think this niche is not being served correctly, that this niche needs to be further explored. And that niche was seniors downsizing. I think we were mass marketing information, but we weren't targeting on seniors downsizing. And I felt like that was a open avenue for me. So I wanted to focus in on that. I really didn't know repair estimates for anything. I never walked through a house with a repair estimate. I never really talked to any of the people that worked at Three Doors about repair estimate. But I figured, well, how hard is that? I can count windows. I can, to say it needs new kitchen. I mean, these things are easy and ready to go. When obviously it's not. Obviously, knowing the repair estimate, you really have to do a rehab to truly understand the the repair estimate. But it was great. I had these awesome tools from Three Doors. And so off I went to go be this guy who's going to conquer the world in real estate by marketing to old people.
Okay.
And I quickly realized that wasn't going to be the niche, or I couldn't figure out how to get to the niche. It wasn't that the niche wasn't there, but I was struggling to figure out how do I get into that niche. Obviously, referrals is great, but then how do I get the referrals to work? How do I grow my network? And so I really, that first year, spent most of my time going to network events, going to network groups. I joined all of them that I could join. I would probably do 8 network events a week. And I was burning through business cards. I was trying to build a follow-up system so that I stayed connected to these people. But I would say that was the biggest thing I did the first year is I went to every network event I could find, regardless of the topic. I didn't even work. I mean, it wasn't like they were talking about real estate. It wasn't even like they were exclusively talking about old people. It was just a network event, a chamber. And I went to the meeting because I was going to meet somebody there who could potentially refer somebody to me.
Okay.
So,
and then
so that was a big thing the first year.
Okay. And then how did that kind of the network focus, how'd that work out?
It was good. I mean, I really think the foundation that I have today is built off of that year of networking. I did not know, obviously with COVID, but I had slowed down my networking before COVID just because it done it really well for me. But for me to manage my network, I needed to stop going to network events and start managing my connections.
Oh man, this is so important. So tell me more on this, man.
Because I realized
this is what most people mess up on networking.
I mean, I was meeting people like the second time, getting their cards and realizing that I had not followed up with them the first time. And it was because I was running off to go to another network event. And so that second year, I was like, all right, I'm going to do less network events, but I'm going to go deep into the ones I go to and manage my deal. So I actually had, if somebody gave me their card, they would immediately get a great to meet you, information from me. Let me know if it can help you with anything. And then a month later, they would get a follow-up. Hey, I was at that network event. Didn't see you again. How's it going? And so that was kind of like my deal to get people going in my network. But I did because like I said, I was going to tons of network events. I just wasn't managing the people that I was meeting.
So if you think about it as like, if the sales process is 5 steps, right? Like before, and like, okay, networking, meeting someone, step 1, and then building the relationships, step 2, and then the referral comes in step 3, and then the deal comes in, going to the property and negotiating at step 4, and then getting it bought, step 5. A lot of people will spend all their time trying to lead generate and trying to get new contacts. And they ignore the contacts that they met they ignore the contacts they met the month before. Spend your entire time on step 1 and just kind of spinning your wheels, not really getting anywhere, right? So was that kind of what you were doing?
Well, it was. And what I realized is everybody, all these people in the network event interact with somebody. And so I want to buy a house. Maybe John doesn't work in anything that's related to me buying a house, but he has neighbors, he has friends. So I still talk to John. John, sells widgets. I still talk to John. I still send them my communication because I want to be top of mind if somebody says, oh my God, I just inherited my parents' house. That's trash. Oh, you know what? I know this guy. Now, the worst is I know this guy, but I can't remember his name. I can't find his card. You don't want that because you want to be top of mind. So everyone should be touched every month with this easy message, just checking in, how you doing, or a fun, cooking recipe or something, because John's going to have an opportunity that somebody's going to tell them about a house they just inherited or a house that they want to sell or something of that nature.
And that's really the thing that blows my mind about real estate is everybody lives in a house. Everybody, all their family members live in a house. So like literally everybody could be like a referral source for you if they know you, like you, and trust you.
Yes, and that's continuous communication. So, and I didn't do that well, and so I need to continue to do that and focus on that piece.
Okay, so
I figured you'd like that.
Oh, I love it. You guys might be able to tell we've talked about this a couple times before already.
First year, what are you doing? What are you doing with it? What are you talking to? How are you going to go in? And I was like, I got it all figured out. Don't worry, I'm off to another network event. I got to figure it out.
That's just step one. Come on, let's get them through the pipeline. Let's get them to referrals. Okay, so as your first year, like, what was like the biggest challenge you think, like, as you're getting going, that you faced?
Recognizing that I was investing in a new career, realizing that I didn't know everything, and I wasn't going to be making $10,000 a month right away, that I needed to invest. I was fortunate enough that I could do that. But I mean, nobody wants to know how little I made that first year, because it was building a foundation of a new career, building a foundation of educating myself so I knew what to do and how to interact with people and how to close people. So the hardest was staying focused and realizing I'm investing my time. And I needed to continue to invest my time, because even though I don't win all the deals, I'll get better at it and I'll win more.
How'd you come to that mindset of not being so like singularly focused on, okay, like and just beating yourself up over, okay, your first year didn't quite get the results you wanted? Hey there, if you're looking to get the ultimate edge for your real estate investing company, go to doorstodeals.com/invest for more information. Just so you know, a high percentage of the people that we interview on this podcast are actually already Three Doors Network members. And our network members have a lot of extra resources. They have access to an online training vault with over 3 years worth of content in it. They have access to vendor savings like our Home Depot discount. That's literally saved thousands of dollars for members. And we have a weekly group coaching call, and we have a lot of other great things as well as part of the Three Doors Network. So make sure that you check it out on doorstodeals.com/invest. How'd you come to that mindset of not being so like singularly focused on, okay, like and just beating yourself up over, okay, your first year didn't quite get the results you wanted? Like how'd you overcome that so you kind of get the momentum and keep going? And I mean, Ollie's a rock star now, guys. So, don't let his slow start. Hey, there's other slow start people. I did one deal in my first 18 months. Okay. So
I did beat that. I did beat one deal in 18 months, but I think it's because I just felt like I could be good at this. Like, do what you love. Don't, kind of stuff. I felt like I liked the deals that I made of helping the senior going from a bad situation in a house to a good situation someplace else. Like, I had enough of that to know that, like, when I had my first company, Scooter Guy, it really was, we were saving lives. It was horribly or operation wise to run a company like that, but we knew we were saving lives, not just the ones we were driving, but the other people on the road. So that was very rewarding, and you stayed focused on that. When with the real estate, I truly believe I am providing a service that these people need. My relationship with these people, I get more Christmas cards from clients than I ever did, ever thought I would. I get cookies sent to me, periodically from people who are happy with how I help them out. And so even though the first year was not anywhere near what I wanted to be, I knew I was going in the right direction because of the deals that I did, I had very strong results from. So I remember talking to my wife. We were sitting, like, I guess that time period between Christmas and New Year's. And she was like, hey, I love the idea of what you're doing, but you might need to get a job at Home Depot. And so it was like, all right, give me the first quarter. I think we're on the right track. Give me the first quarter. So that was going into last year, was I needed to this was going to work. I needed to believe it and I needed to show it. And fortunately it did. Fortunately, I started getting deals in January. I think October really is the only month I didn't close something. And so it felt really good. But I do remember standing with my wife, and she's like, maybe you should get a job at Home Depot because you spend enough time there. So why don't you just get a job? And then, but I was convinced this was the right way to go.
So let's talk about family support a little bit here. So, um, so was she, so overall very support, your wife was very supportive starting out, and then she was kind of running out of gas when you weren't quite launching like you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I have a wonderful family system. My parents, my in laws, my father in law is probably like second best friend of me. We're very close, and they believed in me. And through Scooter Guide, we kind of got the test of like, all right, we needed this to work, and everybody was there to support me as I went through. And then when I switched to the consulting and then to the real estate side, everybody's always been a big believer that I can be successful. And so my wife was very, supportive the first year. It still continues to be. But without her saying that time between Christmas and New Year's, look, I know what you're doing, but we need to figure something out. You got another quarter to make this work. Was completely supportive. We never would like have arguments about me not getting deals done fast enough. We never had you wanted, we need $30,000 from you and you're not producing $30,000. My family is extremely supportive in that nature.
Gotcha. And then when there was so then when you're facing not quite the results I want, you guys really put a kind of like a deadline on, okay, like it needs to happen by this, or I need to figure something else out.
Yeah, I think, and it wasn't like I didn't need to be making $100,000 in the first quarter. I needed to be making something consistently to cover, kids in school, something of that nature. We kind of like earmarked here, you pay for these things, and then you need to cover those things. And so that's really where, now I know financially I need to cover these things, so I need to do some stuff. And when I was able to, and then continue to grow, it worked out great.
So did kind of having that deadline and kind of like that added pressure, looking back, did that really help you?
I don't think it didn't make me more motivated, but I did have a good feel of accomplishment when I finished that first quarter and I looked back to what we talked about and we said what I needed to do and I was able to accomplish it, if that makes sense. Because as you're running, you're just like, you're never stopping to say, yeah, I did a good job with that. Or look at that, I'm able to move the needle. You're just running. So by her and I conversation and that first quarter, I was able to really, for the first time, look back and say, I accomplished something in this business and that feels good.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you mentioned like you had a couple deals hit and, but you weren't really getting that consistency. What was the sort?
I think it was 13 the first year.
Okay. So 13.
I think I did 13 deals the first year.
The first year.
Which isn't good.
Well, if you compare it to me, it was pretty darn good.
Right. You're the only one I can compare it to. Someone called me like, I can do 13.
Yeah. Okay. So 13 in the first year. Okay. So let's but it wasn't like that consistency that you wanted. So talk to me about where the breakdown was. What was the root cause of really not getting that consistent deal flow like you wanted?
Really, I sucked at home. I sucked at the home office. I was never consistent. Like we talked about, I wasn't good at following up with my network. I wasn't good at appointments. I mean, I walked into appointments. I had done no research. I barely found the place 5 minutes after my appointment date. I wasn't good at the job, and then, we did that Sandler training, which was huge because it really helped me. It could have been Joe's training, but it was something that said, here's how you should be doing your interviews. You need to be doing this before the interview. You need to commit to them, set the appointment expectations. And I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I literally was like, my phone would beep and I would drive to the address on my phone and I'd walk into the house. I'd take pictures. I would talk to the people. And what hurt is I probably talked to the people more than I was actually analyzing their house. And then I get home and I'd be like, oh, shoot, I didn't even take a picture of a door. I don't know if it's a 4-panel door, if it's a flat door. That kind of sucks. And it was like, I just wasn't good at it the first year. And then the second year, I guess I had done ones that I was good at. So when I look back at it, I was like, I need to do more of this and less of this.
So so it sounds like you weren't really running the business as a business. You were kind of just reacting and just kind of like going with the flow and like whatever came up, you're just kind of trying to figure it out.
I just figured that all these people I was meeting at number events are going to be sending me all this business that I didn't have to do anything else.
Yeah, and they're going to remember me from 3 months ago when I talked to them for 10 minutes and gave them my business card. Yeah. Okay, so is part of the evolution of Michael Oliver, has it been Michael? I think have I been calling you Ollie this whole time? Michael's his actual name, but we affectionately call him Ollie here.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan.
So Ollie, has your evolution been getting into more like purpose and intentionality? Has that been kind of a source of it as well? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, like I said, with Sandler training, I got much better at the appointments. And then I needed more appointments. And so the discipline to set up your business is absolutely crucial. And I did it in other businesses, and I would consult people about doing this for your business. And I wasn't doing it for my business the first year. I wasn't good at that part of it. And I jokingly say, in real estate, you always have to be hustling. And I don't mean hustling in a bad word standpoint. You're just always thinking about the business, and you're always working towards that. If you think you can hustle for 40 hours a week and that you'll have all the business you want, you are not in the right business. And so what I wasn't doing well was the sitting down foundation hustling, because I figured I'd just talk to people and they would remember me. And then going into last year, it really was like a mindset of I need to change this behavior. Part of it was my wife is counting on me to change my behavior. And so I needed to do a better job.
Wow. So you did, so a lot of it, you kind of did it for your wife. That's cool, man.
I would definitely say that she, put me on that. I support you, but we need something different results.
I think it's really important, guys, to know like what motivates you and like what will like cause you to get out of your comfort zone and get out there. For me, so Ollie's the same way for me too. Like I won't do all that much for myself. But if you said, "Hey, Maddie, your Jim, your daughter Maddie's life depends on this," I would put my head through a wall for my daughter, right?
Right.
And a lot of this, like a success, just all kind of begins and ends within your head. And we all have to play this game each and every day on winning the day, getting into the right habits, to the right thought patterns, and that little negative voice, that naysaying thing, like that comes up. The resistance that tells you you're not good enough, that tells you that you don't have enough knowledge, that tells you you don't deserve success. Like getting into the habits and the ability to just say, screw you, voice, I'm doing it anyway. I don't care how I feel about this. I'm going to make it happen. And one of the ways that for a lot of people, for me included, that I can do that too is I'm doing this, because my wife believes in me, and I'm doing it for her. So that's really powerful stuff, man. I appreciate that. So as far as when you're doing, was there anything else on the inconsistency that you were really that you, so you did 13 in the first year. What was the deal count in the second year?
Last year was 33. 33.
Okay. Okay, so we got you. So 13 we started, and then we worked on some things. So that's three, almost a 3x on the deal flow. That's an amazing leap, dude. You should feel awesome about yourself. That's incredible. So what was there anything else that like helped kind of get you kind of into more of that kind of professional, purposeful space that really kind of got you over the hump?
Like the first year having so many failures and really not confident in that I was doing everything. I remember that going back to that conversation with my wife is I said to her, I wasn't doing a good enough job. I was not consistent, always working. And she's like, well, you seem like you're always working. And, it was like, but to me, looking back, I wasn't working focus wise. I might have been on looking at MLS. I might have been, strumming through Podio or something like that, but I wasn't a focused identity or focused target of what I was doing. And so so when I look back at it, I was like, oh man, I didn't work that week at all. and I did work, but I wasn't smart in how I was working. And so my evaluation was I wasn't working.
Can I add to this? Because this
Please
is
do.
so important, guys. There is a difference between getting your priorities and things that will like make you money and help drive revenue, and getting the important things done, and being busy all week and reacting to emails, reacting to any little piddly stuff, saying you worked the past hour, but you were on Facebook watching just looking at pictures and liking photos of your friends' babies or whatever, right? Like there is a real difference and working on the important things that are going to generate you that. So when you started shifting and getting more intentional on working on the important things, what did that look like? What were you doing?
So I did last year, very focused on my KPIs, which a big one was appointments. Gotta get appointments. And so, that was kind of like the piece going into last year that I know I needed to get 8 to 12 appointments a week. I mean, and that was my goal. And by having that specifically opened up how I was tracking those down. Like I was not waiting for somebody to call me. I was trying to develop a relationship with wholesalers. I was going back to my network of people, asking them, do they have anything? I was like having that single goal of 12 appointments a week is what I drove to. And when I didn't get it, I was like, okay, I'm working Saturday. When I didn't get it, okay, I'm working Sunday. Like I just that was the number I had to hit. I have to make 4,000 phone calls in an hour. I didn't have that kind of stuff. It was specifically to the 8 to 12 appointments a week I had to be at. And then weeks that I wasn't very good at it and I turned in 4 appointments, I knew it was because I sucked that week. I knew it was because I did not do the stuff that I needed to do. So it was an easy grading point. I mean, every week you can look back and, I did a weekly report, summary report on Monday mornings, and I just go through my phone on appointments, and when it was 8 to 12 appointments, I was good to go. When I was 4, I was pissed and, I needed to do something differently. So having that immediate grade. Now, what was my closure rate? Were they good leads? All that kind of stuff comes afterwards. I needed to be 8 to 12. That's all I knew. I knew at the point. Did I go see houses that I probably shouldn't have gone seeing? Absolutely. But I hit my 8 to 12. And I ran into somebody there. So there was residuals from going to appointments I didn't want to go to, but 8 to 12 was the target, and that was immediate every week I could look at.
So we have a deal that we were going to kind of talk about here in this. So we're getting close on time, but there's one more thing that what you did is so incredibly powerful. I think it's so cool. Like it's just awesome that I want to highlight, because I think you all need to do this too if you haven't yet. So when you say 33 deals, that's really, really good. But then you use the data on those deals to help optimize what your plan is for this year, right? So walk me through that process of how you're spending your time with the wholesalers and the amount of deals you did with them, and what you kind of like what your new strategy is based on what's been working for you, for Mr. Ollie. Oh, he's got the whiteboard up on his wall. I love it.
All right, that was poorly done. Could you see what I showed you? Or did it go out?
You could have just said that it was a wall with like a big whiteboard. I think we got the point.
I know, but I like to visually show people. I meant to take a picture of it, but I tried to do it. All right, so I have this board. I mean, I have these 8 blocks on this closet wall thing, and each block represents my goals for those periods. And so I have one that I have offers out, waiting for them to close. I have referrals that I did, and then of course I have the sales, and then I now have the properties that I own. Very clear. You walk into my office, and I see exactly where I stand that year. Next to the deal list, I say how much money I made on it. It's very clear. And so when December rolled around, I went back and I looked at every deal that I did, successful, not successful. What did I do to make it? I looked at all those things, and I was shocked, and I think I've shared this with you. I was shocked that 40% of my time was working with wholesalers, and I, out of 33 deals, got 2, and it was the same wholesaler. And both of them were below my average of deals, below my dollar value. So that was pretty stupid to spend 40% of my time on only closing 2 deals. I do want to point out, though, doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. I was looking at where my success was. Other people have great successes with wholesalers. I was not. My success was sitting with mom and dad in the kitchen, doing the paperwork, doing the deal. That's where I turned.
Yeah. So thank you so much for pointing this out, because this is important. This is a thing that newer people mess up all the time. So Ryan Wessel's, my business partner, I think he generated, it was around 250 or 300K in revenue, was his record. And all he did was buy from wholesalers that year. And then as a business owner, the thought process on this, okay, guys, is okay, was it a bad idea, or was I executing on this at a white belt level when I need to be a black belt level, was there something else that I could do better? And then also, it's in Ollie's case, so he did 33 deals. There was only 2 from wholesalers from the same guy. Well, keep the relationship with the same guy, right? You might still be able to get 2 next year, and maybe keep, like some still relationships kind of do that a little more passively. But then, gosh, you're doing something else right for these other 30 deals. So why not spend 90% of your time on these other deals and get really good?
And I also looked at all my time breakout as I was adding in rehabs into my fold for 2021, is I had the capacity to do 2 rehabs at a time because I'm removing that from the wholesaler deal. So everything else I continue to do, just like I'd done last year, which is great, but I'm also adding in the rehab management piece. And I think it's going to be work because it's very simple. My time is already allocated to it.
Yeah. And that's awesome. So Ollie, if you don't mind, would you be willing to take some pictures and kind of send me the pictures of the whiteboard, and we'll kind of like put it on the on like the webpage so people can see it and everything.
Sure,
like
absolutely.
Okay, so Ollie, well, hey, congrats on where you're at. Was there anything else that's been what else has been instrumental on the just kind of getting to where you're at, do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, 3 Doors has been huge. I mean, I would not be here without the network that we have of people inside 3 Doors and people associated with 3 Doors. When I walk into a room, I know that I'm working with the best company in St. Louis. I don't mean to blow smoke up anybody's ass, but it's having that network and having those people to turn to, was huge. And when I did stupid things, I could ask somebody, how do I get out of this stupid thing? I had houses that I bought poorly. And fortunately, we have agents that were like, oh, I'll move this for you. I'll get this out the door. We'll figure it out. I made one deal. I made $785. Well, I think that's better than losing $3,000 or $4,000 I had looked at originally until I got with an agent who was able to polish up that turd and get it out on MLS. So I interact with somebody from 3 Doors every day. Every day I'm working with somebody there, and then it just travels through it, and it makes me stronger because I know I have that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's
absolutely 3 Doors, Ryan.
Yeah, that's a big tribute to what we got going on, and to Ryan. Ryan's a big part of that too.
And I will say the people that I felt like were my peers when I started 2 years ago, many of them are no longer in the industry because they did not hook up with stronger people. They were like, I met them sitting at some event. They're like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. Well, who are you working with? Do you have a partner? No, I got it. I watched the video last night, and it was that consistency of 3 Doors being there was a huge advantage.
Yeah. And I mean, it's why habits and relationships, right?
Yeah.
Like you have the right relationship that can solve pretty much any and every problem that you come across in business. Absolutely. So, okay. So we were going to talk, we had a little bit more time. There was a deal that we thought it'd be kind of fun to just kind of talk about, like as a little mini case study.
Yeah. The pain in the ass deal.
A pain in the butt deal, a pain in the ass deal. Yeah.
This is closed caption for adults only. The pain in the ass deal.
Yeah. So let's go into this. What happened on this difficult deal?
And, we all work with agents. I got introduced from somebody from 3 Doors, Eric, I think, to an agent. And she was I don't want to say she's flaky, but she is all over the place, and she know, and for lack of a better word, she knows how good she is. So we connected on several properties that I went through, and I did not buy them. Like they didn't work out, and they're priced houses. She sent me to this other house on Blendon in an area that I had already bought 2 houses. So I was pretty familiar with this area. It was kind of a secret little deal because of its location, and I'd already bought 2 houses there. So I go in to buy the house, and I guess first off is when the first time I went, I could only see parts of the house. And then they were curious on why I didn't put an offer in. I was like, well, I couldn't see the basement. I couldn't see the garage. And they're like, well, there was stuff going on. I'm like, well, that doesn't work. I can't buy a house without seeing these things. And then as I was working with an agent and working with the seller to put the deal together, we were trying to get to a number. Like on the phone as I'm driving, we agreed to a number, and then the agent goes, so I'm representing you too. I'll put the offer in. And I was like, what? You're like, no, you brought me the deal. You're the agent for the buyer or seller. I do my stuff on my own. And then it was so quick and so like, where did that come from? I was very discouraged because I felt like the agent had set me up. And when we were negotiating, I could have had this deal done a week earlier because she was keeping her seller, her buyer agent fee included. Like she knew the bottom line to the seller. And so she was pushing me towards that and keeping her number pure. And that really frustrated me because I was like, this could have been done. I could have gotten a better deal. Why do you think you now represent me? And by the way, she was not prepared to do it. And so it was just really like, I actually had to get off the phone and call Ryan and have a conversation with Ryan because at that moment in time, I was pretty pissed. And Ryan talked me off the ledge or made sure, I didn't become a sniper on her. I mean, and just he tried to get me to look at it from her perspective and a different perspective and weigh the importance of the relationship. Like, yes, you could say some mean words to her, but then are you ruining a relationship that could help you down the line? So what we decided to do is I communicated to the lady that I did not think she handled that properly, that she needs to, for now on, tell me, is she representing me or is she representing the buyer? Because it does affect the way that I approach deals and the numbers. So that was a good conversation. I've actually bought 2 houses from her since. The 1019 blend in the first house is I'm rehabbing myself. So that's an exciting house to do it. We have the seller staying in the house for an extra 30 days. Make sure that's included in the contract first time because I did not include that in the contract. So I was kind of like 30 days. I thought it was like 3 days. So made clear on that piece. But yeah, just working with agents is great. And I guess the lesson I learned is make sure everything's up front cleared. And if something does happen, walk away and cool off because I could have hurt myself with this relationship with this agent. And then because I walked away, because I cooled off, I had a very calm conversation with her and we were come up to a very good solution. And wait till you see 1019 blended because it's going to be a kick-ass house.
So then 2 deals by calming down that end up leading to 2 deals after that.
Yeah, and these are all like in like a 14-day period. I signed blended in December, and I signed the other 2, one in December and then one this month. So, I mean, she's quick and hitting me with deals. And she's referring me out to other agents who are calling me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so if anybody that's listening here live has any questions on this or any questions for Ollie, chat away. I know we've been kind of just spitballing, kind of getting into a story. Happy for any of the live audience here to kind of chat away. We can talk about anything that you might have from a story. The biggest thing that I kind of like want to kind of, as we close this thing down and kind of, as I'm thinking through all this that I want to recap on is that when you become an entrepreneur, a small business owner, you decide, you kind of put a line in the sand, you decide to to kind of partake and begin like a hero's journey. You decide to get into the game, and just like any movie that you've seen, what do all the great movies have, right? They're the reason why I love movies so much is that they're stories of life. They're stories of really hard things, challenging obstacles that the hero could have given up. They could have stopped. They could have just stopped moving, and they chose, for whatever reason, they dug deep and they chose to keep moving and to keep moving forward. And Ollie, like, you inspire me on this, man, that you kept moving forward. You're an inspiration. And by you doing this and keep moving forward when there was some signs and some doubts, and you just kept doing it anyway, what you're setting yourself up for now with your life is starting to get to that mastery black belt level of investing, which is what then unlocks financial freedom. It unlocks being able to really pour more value into people around you. Teach some skills like to maybe some of your children someday if they ever get into it. I mean, it just unlocks so many amazing things like charity contributions, you name it. And it was all because you decided to kind of keep going on your hero's journey and keep moving forward despite whatever obstacles that you had. So I commend you. I admire you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for being an inspiration. And guys, do the same thing. Keep going. Doesn't matter what you're dealing with. Doesn't matter what you're struggling with. There's people in our network. There's people around you that can help. Have the courage to ask them questions and have the courage to keep moving forward, just like Michael Oliver did. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you too, Jeff. I mean, we had calls over the 2 years. You call me, ask me how I'm doing, if I could do anything to help. I think that's a big deal. The one thing you said, though, is I want to make sure clear too, is I think success is because you take responsibility. If you feel yourself blaming others for whatever, then you need to step back and say, how could I have not gotten that situation? How could I have been better at the situation? And I just, I say it to my kids all the time, stop blaming others. It's your job to be who you want to be, not others to deter you from that. And so if you didn't get a deal and you want to blame it on a wholesaler, then you're not doing a good job. You should stand back and say, what could I have done better on that piece? And look at everything. When you don't get what you want out of it, go back and look at the steps. Because I think taking responsibility is, I'm the one who has to do this, is huge. And if I have to reach out to Jim because I'm in a pissy mood and it's not working for me right now, I need to call Jim. Like going back to the London deal, I called Ryan. I mean, I didn't sit there and get mad and just sit in my chair and pout. I called Ryan. We looked at a different way, and then I called the lady back. So you gotta hear it too many times that this happened or this happened or this happened. It's like, no, you had it happen. How do you make sure that doesn't happen again? How do you overcome it? So that's my little speech on responsibility. My kids are tired of it, but I still say it.
It's so important. Yeah. I mean, if you want to be successful, full ownership on everything that comes your way.
Don't tell me how many hours you work. My brother, who I love dearly, always talks about, like, I worked 53 hours last week or something. And it's like, it's not about the hours, man. It's about the results. Did you get the results you wanted to? If not, then you probably should have worked 55 hours.
Yeah, or like, and that's one of the nice things too about Ollie's mindset earlier, guys. Hey, 8 to 12 8 appointments a week, I think is what you said.
Yeah.
If I didn't get it, I worked a Saturday. But like, if you're that crystal clear and you know your numbers and know what your goals are, if you get 8 appointments on a Monday, get a property under contract on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I mean, who's to say you have to work 40 hours that week? You might call it quits and have a little fun too.
There's been Fridays that I had my 12 appointments in or scheduled, and I took off Friday afternoon to go to the pool with the kids or something. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the one thing I can control is the number of appointments. I can't control how many deals I have because numbers are numbers. I can't control how many phone calls I have or whatever. I can control the number of appointments because there's always stuff on Facebook being sent out. And you don't know who's going to be there. You don't know who's in the Facebook. So you find that one thing that you can control and let the other things fall where they may.
Okay, guys, that does it for this particular show. Go to doorstodeals.com/2021. Again, that's doorstodeals.com/2021. Go out, live your purpose, and above all else, go after your dreams. Till next time. Thanks for tuning into this show. For more episodes and resources that will unlock doors to deals, check out our website, doorstodeals.com.